everybody. I'm Miski Harris. I'm a contemporary gay romance, gay fiction, and paranormal author.
You've got this brand new entry in the All-American Boy series with Boy Overboard. Tell us about this book.
The series was brought to me by my PA. I call Tammy my keeper because I get a little OCD at times and I'm everywhere all at once and accomplishing nothing. So, so she brought this to me. I'd done a couple of anthologies, and so she thought that I would enjoy this. I didn't. I'm a pantser. I write a basic plot, but then I let my characters tell the story, and that takes a little more time. But I was really intrigued by this idea, and I really did want to do a Same World series. And it was in Maine, where I actually have a gay male friend who lives there, and I could get my mandatory research in. I like to write stories that have an element of redemption. I'm seeing that as a pattern in my writing. I like for the little guy to win. And one of the things I noticed when I came into this business was that all the men on the covers were blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and, robust chested and so forth. So my books are interracial and sponsor men of color. Anyway, I have a strong heart for people who have been insulted, abused, or otherwise misused because they're male and gay. I'm not saying it doesn't happen to women, but you write what you know. And my biggest exposure to this started when I was in the military. So I've stuck along those lines. Rico is a millennial, and the millennial theme song is graduate college, buy $1 million house, an expensive foreign car, and run the world. The reality of that, not so much. And so, millennials become kind of a cuss word. Oh, he's a millennial. So I substituted the word brat. That's what Rico is. He's a 25-year-old millennial brat, but he also has an overbearing father. It's not that his parents don't love him and they know he's gay, but somewhere in his father's heart, this is all something that he needs to outgrow. So in rebellion, Rico takes off and heads out into the world. Because of circumstances, he winds up in this little town called Stony Brook. And if you can imagine a rich kid with suddenly no money in a one-horse town.
It takes some adjustment.
Oh, my second main character is Braxton. And by contrast, Braxton's 30. He's had to work for everything. Unlike Rico, nothing was given to him. And he's now the successful owner of a fine dining restaurant in Stony Brook. There are a couple of places in Stony Brook that are such that people vacation there just for these experiences. And Les Maisons Boulaya is one of those experiences. I like enemies to lovers because it doesn't mean that they have to be two guys who were in a fist fight. They can just be two men with different ideologies. So I tend to buck the grain of the typical story, but if I don't, why read Miski's book? And in this series, there are 9 other authors that you can read. So I am hoping, actually, I'm sure, because I've conversed with a couple of them, that I gave the series a different approach.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of authors. I think you're one of them. I think Elle Keaton is one of them with how
Mhm.
she did the age gap. And it's nice to see the different approaches because then there's a little something for everybody in the series.
And the thing is that mine isn't as much of an age gap as it is a level of maturity, because 5 years isn't a lot. You know, Rico's 25 and Braxton is 30. But speaking of Elle, I've got to give her props, because as I was struggling with the geography of this world, I needed some things, and I contacted Elle, and she just about poured the manuscript out to me, which, when you're busy writing your own story, to stop and take time with another author. So our characters interact. She has a young sommelier intern named Ben, and Ben and Rico become friends. Rico winds up staying at the Stony Brook Inn, which is Elle's creation. So our stories actually have some intertwining in that way. And I'll forever be grateful to her for that. So in Boy Overboard, you'll actually see a reaction to Ben's story.
I love that when that happens in shared universes, how the characters cross between the books and everything. And I really love the setup here where everybody's in the same town. You've also got the Tall Ship Festival. How does that play into your story?
It's actually the catalyst for a lot of Rico's growth. Because of the festival, the local merchants have to create sort of a vendor area so that people who are just there for the festival aren't tearing up the town. Braxton, at the same time, uses that opportunity to build an extension of his restaurant. So there's opportunities for Rico to grow into the town because of the festival and make friends and become part, not just the festival itself, but the heartbeat of the town. At one point, something about Rico becomes very common knowledge, and Ben says, "Welcome to Stony Brook."
Because that is a small town. You don't get to keep many
It is.
secrets.
There are no secrets there. And that's one of the things that he struggles with. Like, something about him will be all over town before he's had breakfast. And, he's like, how, why? He does ask that a lot, but I enjoyed writing.
What was your favorite scene to write?
Ooh, I have a couple, but there's the one scene that I actually posted on Facebook that I actually cried through was my favorite, but that's also, I can't tell that one because it's sort of a point of the story and it'll ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, we definitely don't want spoilers. So when readers get to the scene where they're going to cry, they'll know that's the one.
Yes. However, one of my other favorite scenes, I have two of them. One is the very beginning. It's emotional because it shows that everybody isn't cool with who Rico is in the world. It's Rico's first lesson in, all bears aren't cute and cuddly. All cookies don't have sugar. That, all those things that your parents always tell you. So that's his first lesson. And just because Jeff likes you doesn't mean that all men who wear black frame glasses are going to like you. I think one of the more intense scenes is the first sort of erotic scene between Rico and Braxton. Braxton calls Rico a brat a lot, and Braxton's kinky. I'll allow that out, but he's not a dom, and so I tried to address some things that I think people don't know. But there's a difference between wanting a little spice in your life and being a full out member of the BDSM community. And while I enjoy reading a good BDSM book, I don't know that I could ever write one, but I can put a little flavor in the bedroom. So Rico is one of those people that every time you hear him open his mouth, you just want to slap him. In Braxton's case, he just wants to spank him. So my favorite scene is the actual spanking. Rico learns a lot about the difference between looking something up on Google and experiencing it. And so, Rico is like, he what? But wait a minute, isn't he supposed to? But is he really? So that was my favorite scene.
We have to talk about your book from the end of last year, Cruise. Tell us a little bit about the 10 days that Armando and Lyndon have at sea.
Armando is a gay man in a ultra-religious family. His wife is actually considers herself asexual, aromantic. They were best friends growing up, and to get their parents out of their hair, they got married. They had a son, Michael, by artificial insemination. I caught a lot of heat for that. But you know what? Unless you've lived that fiscal level of life, you have no idea what people who do not have immediate access to money will do to achieve a dream. And so for everybody listening, please stop telling me that they couldn't do this, because everything I do is research, and people have, and this couple did. Anyway, Marta dies, and she's been sending Armando on these gay cruises every year as giving him a kitchen pass to go be who he really is for hiding her secret. I never do discuss what Marta does because she's deceased. As you can tell, there's a pattern there. I like tugging heartstrings right off the top. So the book starts with her funeral. Lyndon, on the other hand, is a uber busy architect and author. He's that over-focused young man who has come out of a seriously bad relationship. The cruise that they're on is a real cruise. If you Google 2,000 gay men on a cruise, that's an actual cruise. It left Rome on my birthday, and I literally followed that itinerary. I Googled photographs and tour information, and so they did all this stuff. They swam the caves. Lyndon, being an architect, sketched out the beautiful grottos in Greece. Oh my God, I want to see them myself. And as they did this, their relationship developed. They went to Pompeii and walked through those ruins. There's a stalker involved, and that's all I'll say about that. They have a friend of Armando's named Danny, who can be a little bit of a cock blocker. Danny was such a pain in the ass, sometimes you just wanted to slap him. But remember what I said, I love redemption, and there's a reason behind Danny. But that's not where the story ends. They get home. Armando has a face-off with his family, and Lyndon has a face-off with his past that really could have gone badly, but Lyndon's got a gun-toting mama.
See, now I just want to read this book all the more. It's going to have to move up my TBR because you've given me so much more here than the blurb even has.
Well, John Solo, who narrated my first two books, he forced that out at GRL. So I was glad the book was out because John said, well, I understand there's a mama that'll cut a bitch. And I said, nah, but she'll shoot a mother.
I love John.
John is amazing. He really is. And he was one of the first people to encourage me, that what he really enjoyed was that I actually write romance and fiction and not erotica. He called it a bold move. But, I'm 70. I can do whatever the hell I want these days.
Yes, you can.
And I have the good fortune of not having to write for the rent. So
Spinning to something else, what is something that you've read recently that you would want our listeners to have a read at?
actually, Will has a new book coming out. It's called The Return. It's paranormal and it's just right up my alley.
Yeah,
You
Parker
know,
Williams, right?
yes. And the book releases on the day that we do this podcast. So the 14th of April. So happy birthday, Parker. I love you. He's another person who writes contemporary with an edge. And he's one of those you can't put it down authors. And I believe that if people pick up The Return, that's what's going to happen. I mean, seriously, I'm doing the final edits on Boy Overboard, and every night when I put that to bed, I was in my copy reading myself to sleep. That's all I can say because, again, this is release day. You know, the blurb speaks for itself.
That's awesome to give a little release day love to Parker. And what's coming up next for you now that Boy Overboard's out? What more do we have to look forward to this year?
Well, first, I'm going to drink a lot of wine. I've got a couple of book signings coming up. The end of this month, I'm actually doing Authors and Dancers Against Cancer in Ohio and Romanticon in July. But in the meantime, my next book is Damage Controlled. It's been on the back burner for a while. It's book 3 and Don't Ask, Don't Tell. But there are 2 young men in my prior stories. One is Teddy, who everybody falls in love with. Teddy's a social worker who's also a drag. And the other is a young veteran who was in collateral damage. And because of the way the VA rates you, which isn't necessarily in line with the rating you got from the military when you're discharged, he has some PTSD issues, but his biggest issue is seizures, and that doesn't qualify him to receive a support animal 100% paid for. The military uses dogs, and almost every one of my stories has an animal of some kind in it. I love animals. This particular dog is a Portuguese water dog named River. So as in the romance, I'm going to bring Teddy, and I've tentatively named him David, together. But it's primarily going to be my airman story of, again, rebirth, rebuilding, and redemption, because that's what the Don't Ask, Don't Tell series is about. Coming out of the military damaged and being able to rebuild yourself, rebuild your life, and find love.
Exciting that you're getting to continue that series.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to there. How can people keep up with you online? And, most importantly, to know when Damage Control is going to be able to come out.
I'm on Facebook. I have a group, Miski's Mischief Makers. I keep it simple. My Facebook pages, personal pages, just Miski Harris. Same for Instagram and Twitter, which Tammy keeps up. I do have a webpage, and it's www.miskiharris.com. I keep it simple. There, you can sign up for my newsletter, which is really the primary place that I put everything.
We will link to all of that in our show notes, along with all the books that we talked about. Miski, thank you so much for coming to talk to us about Boy Overboard.
Thank you.